The most feared alien queen lost her daughters, found in the humans' embrace. After a devastating interplanetary war, a human soldier stumbles upon 3 abandoned alien children amid the ruins. He must cross hostile territory to bring them safely to an evacuation point, but on the way, he discovers they're no ordinary children. They're the heirs of an enemy leader, and the target of hunters determined to destroy any chance of reconciliation. What begins as a rescue mission becomes a test of character, courage, and humanity, where the enemy turns out to be the bond that could change the fate of 2 species. The wind hissed through the shattered avenues like someone whistling through clenched teeth, carrying soot, ozone, and metallic dust. Carthos 4 was no longer a planet. It was an echo. Columns of the old administrative district trembled with each gust, shedding pebbles from above like a stubborn drizzle. Where plazas and flags once stood, now there were craters and twisted girders, reflecting a lead-grey sky streaked with evacuation trails. The distant sound of gunfire surprised no one. What shocked was the silence that followed, heavier each time, as if the world had given up answering. Sergeant Noah Villar crouched behind what was left of a monument and checked his helmet visor. Tactical maps looked like Swiss cheese, satellite dead zones, beacons dark, corridors unsafe. The radio repeated its same mantra every few minutes. Extraction point Delta 13, window active in 42 minutes. 42 minutes to cross 2 kilometers and a continent of trouble. Beside him, Milo, a broad-chested caramel Labrador with focused eyes, sniffed the air. His rescue vest was caked with dust, yet the LEDs still pulsed blue with each stable reading. He scanned for blood traces, explosive compounds, residual radiation, and the newest upgrade installed days ago, the saline signature of Carthos creatures. Noah leaned down, rubbing the spot behind the dog's ear, where he always scratched before a long mission. "You with me, partner?" he asked, voice muffled by the filter. Milo just tilted his head and thumped his tail once. Professional. The plan was simple. Sweep a quadrant for human survivors, point them towards safe corridors, then head to Delta 13. Simple didn't mean easy. The last counteroffensive had left blind drones patrolling the ruins. Local militias, anti-human and anti-everything, preyed on anyone trying to escape. And above all, the provisional ceasefire treaty was still just warm ink on a cold screen. Nobody trusted anybody. Neither did Noah. They moved through the shadow of a building with no facade. The ground, cracked into lozenges, resembled a dried lake bed. Milo froze, body stiff. Noah understood instantly. He went statue still, sweeping with the thermal camera. Almost nothing, until the edge of the lens caught a faint heat signature under a pile of plates and melted cables. "Mark," he whispered. The HUD locked a yellow square over the spot. Milo went first, zigzagging to avoid tripwires and booby traps. Noah followed, crouching into a corridor that smelled of damp earth and old iron. The walls were blackened halfway up, as if a dark ocean had dried there. The faint heat came from a gap in a collapsed staircase. Noah pressed his glove to the beam, testing it, then slowly pried away the loose rubble. One piece at a time. No rush, no noise. What he saw first was a huge eye, closed under a milky pearl membrane, then a smooth green opal cheek smudged with dust. Finally, a hand, or something like a hand, with 3 slender fingers curled against its own chest. It was small. Very small, and trembling. "Oh," it slipped out, unfiltered by military discipline. "They're little ones." There were 3 of them, curled into each other like seeds from the same pod. He noticed filaments at their wrists, fine lilac braids with silica pendants shaped like pods. The Var, the native species of Carthos, wore those in civic ceremonies. He didn't know the details, but he recognized status when he saw it. Instinct screamed, problem, and a big one. Milo leaned in, sniffed, and let out a short whine. Not a threat alert, a plea for action. Noah responded automatically. He set his rifle on a metal plate, switched it to safe mode, and opened the rescue pack. He pulled out a thermal blanket and 3 gel wraps. With practiced movements, he shifted the main beam enough to create a gap and lifted the first child out. It was light, too light. Its body quivered with a tremor that wasn't just cold, but fear. He wrapped it in the gel wrap, tucked the blanket tight, and pressed it against his own chest, between his armor and uniform. "Warm up with me, little one. Warm up with me," he murmured, as he'd said dozens of times to human children in collapsed buildings. A low voice built a bridge. Milo pressed his flank against Noah's, generating extra heat around them. He did the same with the second and third. When the last was settled, he heard something, a faint chime within the silence, like the sea inside a shell. It came from them. Some kind of respiratory purr, maybe, but it matched his breathing as if trying to sink. The radio crackled. "Charlie team, location?" "Villar in sector B9, he answered. 3 rescued, vitals low." "Humans?" Noah looked at the green-skinned little ones against his chest. "No, VAR." Silence. The static felt like judgment forming on the other end. "Mission priority is human evacuation," the voice said at last. "Your window's closing, Sergeant." "Copy." He shut his eyes for a second, feeling the weight of choice become stone. "I'm taking them." "Log the decision. Command will review." "They can review later. Right now I walk." He cut the link. The compass tagged an alternate route. Side streets, slower but quieter. Noah stood, adjusting the 3 bundles on his vest clips. One of the small ones stirred, pressing its smooth face to his nameplate. The V of Villar fogged with its breath. Warmth passed through metal, fabric, and rancor alike. "Let's go, Milo." They left the corridor for an open avenue. Wind whipped at the blankets, and Noah instinctively shielded them with his forearms. Something shifted in his body. His combat posture tilted toward shelter. Walking like this was slower. He saw 2 things at once: drones hovering beyond a cracked building and shadows moving along the overpass. Local patrol. He did the math fast. Right led to a minefield. Left was too exposed. Straight ahead required surgical timing. "With me," he whispered. Milo glued himself to his leg, muzzle forward. The first drone passed with its metallic hum, indifferent, leaving a trail of dust. Noah waited for the noise to fade, then crossed to a fallen column. He crouched, shielding the little ones, as the second drone swept the area. Milo, with near-military precision, mirrored his move, lying diagonally across Noah's leg like a living barricade at the entrance. They slipped into a service gallery. Inside, the air smelled of mold and old paint. The walls carried graffiti in 2 languages: "Out of our orbit" in human alphabet, and "No noise" in the rounded strokes of the VAR. Noah noted it the way trained people notice booby traps, by tilting his head slightly. No noise could mean a lot of things. VAR protecting sacred silence, anti-alliance groups forbidding interference. Not all VAR wanted war, not all humans wanted peace. The world wasn't a lined page. "Hey," he whispered, more to himself than to anyone. "I'm here for you, not for them." The middle child stirred. Against Noah's ribs, the faint chime repeated his breathing pattern. A response. He gave a lopsided smile. A memory flashed like lightning. His sister, 12 years ago, curled in the back seat of the pickup while fireworks burst nearby. He had done the same, wrapped his ribs around her, humming a tuneless, "It's okay." The memory burned and cooled. At the end of the gallery stood a stairway to the sublevels. The map said blocked. Milo sniffed, testing each step, down 2, 3, before stopping and looking back with a muzzle that asked, "Do we keep going?" Noah chose another route, an external ramp leading to the ruined parking deck. Better risk under the sky than blind risk underground. In the parking lot, a line of post-war vehicles, light modules with shattered glass and paint eaten by acid air, formed a labyrinth of metal. Noah moved through the shadows, eyes flicking to the internal clock, 35 minutes to Delta 13. The shell of a van offered a brief shelter. He leaned against it, adjusting the blankets. Milo drank water in a disciplined gulp. Noah pressed his forehead to the cold metal for a heartbeat, drawing in a slow breath. "I don't know your names," he said to the trio, who might not even understand human articulation. "I'll call you Wave, Breeze, and Drop until we figure it out." "Okay?" The one on the left, the smallest, twitched its antennae as if signing. "Drop." Noah chuckled softly. They headed back to the street. Secondary roads converged toward a main artery that led to the magnetic platforms, the makeshift elevators to the evacuation ships. The problem was, everyone wanted to get there, including those who wanted to stop others. Shadows on the overpass reappeared parallel to them, 3, 4 silhouettes. Noah adjusted his pace, checked his pulse. Eyes scanning, body shielding. Then Milo froze, fur up, nose to the wind, something coming from the right, low and fast. Armed sweep drones, the ones that weren't blind but discreet. Noah dove behind a concrete block, clutching the 3 small bodies tighter, pure instinct. The first drone ripped overhead, spraying micro-projectiles into the opposite wall. Debris showered down. Milo moved a step forward, ready to leap at ground-level intruders. "Easy, easy, I'm here," Noah repeated now for all 4 of them. The hail of pebbles stopped. The drone, failing to find an exposed heat signature, continued its pattern leftward. Noah breathed through his mouth to avoid swallowing dust, counted to 8, and rose. The trio, Wave, Breeze, and Drop, was pressed against him with a trust that had no language. At that exact moment, something nearly imperceptible happened. The faint chime inside the blankets changed note as if saying, "Keep going." Noah kept going. 2 blocks ahead, he spotted the base of a collapsed overpass, forming a natural bridge over a cross street. It could be certain death, or the perfect shortcut. The internal compass pulsed, yes, cutting 5 minutes off. 5 minutes was gold when you carried 3 lives against your chest. He watched the patterns of blown dust, timed the drones, analyzed the shadows overhead. Safety was never certainty. It was probability with faith. "Up and over," he decided. Milo climbed first, claws finding purchase in the holes of the concrete like a calm mountaineer. Noah followed, body curved to shield the blankets from any loose stone. At the top, the horizon opened for a heartbeat. There, on the edge of the viaduct, Noah saw something that chilled and lit him at the same time. Delta 13, gleaming in the distant northwest, a cluster of floodlights stabbing the sky, and a finite line of points like fireflies. There was a chance. As they descended the far side of the overpass, a metallic thud echoed behind them up top. Noah snapped his head fast enough to catch only the shadow of a body moving, not drones, people. The Labrador growled louder. Noah picked up the pace, seeking cover at ground level. The silhouettes vanished for an instant. The clock read 28 minutes. The tightness in his chest wasn't fatigue. It was urgency, blended with protection. He glanced down, 3 green faces partially hidden under the blanket, tired antennae, breathing in sync with his, and understood that that day the manual had changed. The assault soldier had become something else, moving shelter. Just a little more, little ones, just a little more. And so, with the world collapsing in calculated pieces, Noah Villar made the decision that would change the fate of more species than he could ever count. He would not abandon those three for anything. The next corridor opened into a courtyard crushed between two buildings. In the center, a bent light pole spat sparks, and the air smelled of burned plastic. Noah moved sideways across it, always keeping his body between the little ones and any opening. Milo swept the perimeter with his nose, first left, then farther out, finally at ground level, searching for hostile species pheromones. Nothing immediate. The clock showed 25 minutes to Delta 13. "All right, Wave, Breeze, drop," he said, as if the improvised names were talismans. "We're going to cut through there. Open ground first, then a safe corridor." The smallest, Drop, twitched its antennae, a tiny chime vibrating against Noah's chest, like an answer. The soldier adjusted the blankets, checked the tension of his armor plates so he wouldn't crush them, and moved on. At the twisted iron gate leading to the street, a voice popped up behind him. "Hey!" Deep, hoarse, in common. "You there?" Noah spun with his weapon low, sights ready. Two humans in reinforced civilian clothes, eyes hollow with exhaustion, carrying makeshift pistols. A third, younger, had a backpack that rattled with scrap. They didn't look like militiamen. They looked like survivors on the edge. "We're not looking for trouble," Noah said firmly. "Heading for the extraction point." The oldest jerked his chin toward the blanket strapped to Noah's chest. "That in your vest, is that VAR?" "They're children," Noah replied. A tense second hung like a wire. The younger one stepped closer, curious. "Are the ships taking VAR too?" he asked, voice split between hope and fear. Noah thought of the radio voice, the protocol, thought of what he'd seen at the last spaceport, separate tunnels, priorities carved by chaos. Finally thought of the 3 warm weights against his ribs. "If you come with me, I'll get you on," he said, "even if I stay behind." The oldest dropped his gun a fraction. He assessed the dog, the uniform, the calm. The world chose not to explode in that minute. "North Street's got a sweep team," he offered, tone cooperative. "I saw drones going back and forth. Better cut through the underground market." "Thanks." Milo gave a short bark. "Let's go." Noah nodded to the civilians and took the narrow passage to the right, down a ramp that had once been a loading dock. The metal stairs groaned and the smell shifted. Less smoke, more damp earth, graphite, rust. The lower market was a tangle of empty stalls, torn tarps, and food crates spoiled by heat. Somewhere water dripped. The sound echoed, making it feel like a cave. There, in the half-dark, Noah saw the 3 faces clearly for the first time. He found a sheltered corner between shelves, knelt, and opened the blankets just enough for his helmet light to wash over them. Green, opaline skin, as he'd noticed before, but now with detail, veins of light under the surface. Tiny bubbles rising and falling with each breath, a translucent filament running from the nape to the collarbone, maybe a sensory organ. Huge eyes still closed under a thin membrane. "Hey," he said in the volume he used for human newborns, "we've got to find a way to talk to each other." The biggest, Wave, fluttered under the membrane. A sound came from deep inside, low and soft, 3 notes in sequence, like the whir of an old fan in a hot childhood bedroom. Milo sniffed the air and licked toward them, curious. Wave responded with a stronger vibration, as if greeting him. Breeze emitted a short trill, echoing the last 2 notes. Drop matched Noah's breathing pattern now, with a rhythm that no longer felt reflexive. "Okay. You speak from inside," Noah guessed. "If I do this..." He tapped his own sternum twice. Thump, thump. "Me." Then he pointed at Milo. "Milo!" All 3 made variations of thump, thump, shifting it into an almost musical cadence. Wave raised its 3-fingered hand, lightly touched Noah's ID plate, and slid the tip up to his neck, as if asking his name. Noah smiled. "Noah," he said slowly, touching the plate and then his neck. "No-ah." Wave tried to imitate, "No, ah." Breeze made a happy hiss. Drop attempted no and coughed out a little trill of air. The soldier's stomach tightened for reasons that weren't fear. In that clumsy exercise of language, there was something that always broke him, the will to understand. "Let's keep moving," he said, closing the blankets carefully. "We'll talk more later." They took the back corridor. Torn panels, dangling wires, a sweet smell from a fruit stand petrified by heat. A few meters on, a different hum. Milo stopped, ears pricked. Noah cut his light, leaving only the dim glow of his visor. The hum swelled into the whisper of small thrusters. "Drones," he whispered, "listening patrol." These were different from before. Acoustic dishes instead of visible cameras, microphones on articulated stems. Local militias used them to hunt anyone speaking loud or clanking weapons. The lower market had one law: no noise. Sound could kill too. Noah pressed his back to a column and felt the three small bodies curl tighter, as if they could hear the danger in their bones. The inner chime went silent. Milo lowered himself to a shadow. The drone passed 2 meters away, a dark dish spinning like a petalless lily, sniffing for sound. Noah held his breath through a long count. When the dish drifted off, he exhaled slowly. Even so, Drop answered with an almost inaudible ping, a reflex of relief. "Good job," he murmured, unsure whether to the dog, the children, or his own body. They reached the stairs at the far side of the market and climbed to a side street. The grey light hit their eyes after the dark, and for a second everything seemed calm, until a hiss split the air and a chip of concrete jumped off the pillar beside Noah's head. Gunshot. He dropped to his knees on reflex, twisting his torso to cover the children, and dragged himself behind a crate. Milo already stood between him and the direction of fire, back rigid, teeth bared. "Where from?" he whispered. Another hiss, another chip, an echo off metal plates. "Right, upper floors." Noah activated his helmet's sound contrast vision, a crude but useful tool that triangulated vibrations and flagged probabilities. A red circle blinked on a ruined third floor. He glimpsed the silhouette of someone leaning out a broken window. Militia, zone sentinel, shooting to scare or to toy. He couldn't waste ammo, couldn't climb up. The clock read 19 minutes. He felt around. A hanging rearview mirror, a cracked fiber helmet, a fallen traffic sign. He grabbed the sign, thin metal, light, reflective paint. He waited for the next shot, counted 2 seconds, and flung the sign to the left where another crate stood. The shot went toward the noise, pinging the sign and making it clang. While the shooter adjusted aim, Noah cut right with Milo, low and fast. "Move, move!" They ducked into a service corridor and came out, breathing hard, into an alley that opened onto a half-collapsed street. Ahead stood an arch covered in VAR inscriptions, spiraled, harmonic. Noah recognized the symbol, sanctuary. Many had turned into aid posts during the worst days. There could be water. There could be people. 16 minutes, he muttered. "We get water, adjust the blankets, and go." The sanctuary's roof was partially caved in, but an inner niche still intact, with a stone basin in the center. Water dripped from a fissure, pooling slowly. Noah wet a cloth and wiped the smooth foreheads of the little ones. They responded with a faint inner glow. Wave opened its eyes for the first time, 2 black orbs with green rims, deep as a night lake. It stared at Noah long enough to memorize a face. Breeze touched the basin with 3 fingers, felt the water, and released a happy arpeggio. Drop laughed, if that short, broken trill could be called a laugh. "Hey!" Noah smiled, unable to stop himself. "You're doing great." An inscription behind the basin caught his eye. 3 silica segments interwoven with a lilac ribbon, the same pattern on the little one's wrists. Slowly, the pieces clicked, clan marks. On Karthos, not everyone bore them, but the high families always did, part of an ancient pact with the priestly and military houses. Noah swallowed hard. He hadn't rescued 3 orphans. He'd rescued someone a lot of armed people cared about. At the sanctuary entrance, a creak. Milo lifted his head and gave a low growl. Noah turned, a Var figure in the doorway, adult, slender, darker green skin, dirty robes, eyes far too alert. Not a soldier, a healer. In her hands, she carried a bone instrument that looked like a small harp. "Don't make noise," she said in common, her accent sing-song. "Drones above. I heard the 3... Her gaze landed on the blankets. There was shock there and something like reverence. "Where did you find them?" "Under a stairwell. Alone." The Var's expression shifted, a flash of contained pain. "They will hunt you," she warned, "not out of malice, out of fear. Whoever carries our 3 mark cannot vanish without answers." "They'll vanish if they stay here," Noah shot back. "I'm taking them to the extraction point." The healer measured the human and the dog. She stepped closer, touched Breeze's little silica pendant, and then pressed a finger to her own heart. A gesture universes could understand. "I'm Sal," she said. "I can open a route below, away from the drones. I have 15 minutes, then we must run in silence." She crossed the sanctuary to a cracked wall, pried aside a board, and revealed a narrow stair descending into old conduits. The air that rose was cold and damp, smelling of algae and ancient dust. Sal plucked 2 near inaudible notes on the bone harp, and the air answered with a faint vibration, as if the ducts ahead echoed back. A sonic map. Noah watched, impressed. Local knowledge saved more than any squad ever could. Sal indicated the children, "will recognize the path. They belong to 3 crowns. They know how to hear the right murmur." 3 crowns. Noah didn't know what it meant, but it sounded as big as the responsibility already on his chest. "Let's go," he decided. "Milo, down!" The Labrador went first without hesitation, nails clicking on metal, vanishing into the dim. Noah followed with a mountaineer's caution, shielding the little ones from the walls. Sal came last, sliding the board back into place with a pinch twist. The world above dropped a tone farther away. At the bottom of the conduit, the darkness had its own sound. Rhythmic drips, the dull heartbeat of the wounded city, the inner chime of the 3 now steady. Sa'al plucked the harp at intervals, reading the returns like wind currents. Noah trusted her. Ahead, a pale glow promised an exit. 3 more turns, Sa'al whispered, "and we'll be near the Maglev platform. But be careful, those who hate the Between also know the tunnels." The Between, the word stuck in Noah's mind. Humanity and Var, war and peace, protocol and impulse. He was exactly that now, between. The little ones stirred. Wave lifted its face, pressed its chin to his vest, and pronounced with its inside music, the best attempt yet. "No." Ah. The sound hit the human's chest like a blow and a balm at once. "I'm here," he answered, his voice lower than ever, "and I'm staying." The glow ahead grew. The clock said 12 minutes. Sal's route promised to shorten the trip, but danger promised to adapt. At the corridor's end, before climbing, Noah stopped and checked everything again. Ammo, water, blanket fasteners, Milo's sensors, the little one's vitals. All there, one rhythm. "Ready?" he asked. Milo wagged his tail. Sal nodded. "Wave, breeze and drop," answered with a small 3-note chord that could be translated, if any dictionary dared, "as we go together." And so they went. The old tunnel opened into a hidden space beneath the support pylons of a long-dead monorail. Outside, Carthos 4's sky kept its metallic grey, but the movement had intensified. Drones crossing routes, sporadic gunfire sparks, blue lights flickering on the horizon. Saal pointed to an emergency ladder climbing up to a broken platform. "This way," she murmured. "We'll climb quietly, then cross through the old turbine corridor. It's longer but less exposed." Noah nodded, adjusting the three little ones on his vest. They were no longer a foreign weight. They were part of his body now, each step molded to carry them. Milo climbed first, claws on metal echoing softly. The soldier and the children followed, Saal last. When they emerged, they saw what was left of the North Zone, open corridors, scrap heaps, broken antennas spinning in the wind. 12 minutes, Noah whispered, eyes on the inner chrono. "Doable, if we don't stop." The crossing began almost in silence. Milo led, scenting the path. Saal 2 steps behind, plucking the bone harp lightly now and then to test echoes and sense where drones or people might hide. Noah in the middle, shaping his silhouette as a shield. First signs of danger. The first obstacle came in the form of sentinel drones, far more aggressive than those in the underground market. They didn't fly straight, but hovered in unpredictable patterns, darting up and down like dragonflies. They carried integrated energy rifles and high-precision thermal cameras. One wrong signature could betray them all. Saal looked at Noah, then at the dog. "If we go together, they'll feel the heat mass. We need to split." Noah scanned his mental map. A narrow pipe corridor to the left, a row of fallen panels casting shadow to the right. He decided to break the group. "Milo, with me, along the pipes. Saal, take the kids under the panels to the cooling tower base. We'll meet on the far side." The dog tilted his head, caught the command and shifted position. Saal gently pulled the three little ones, but they hesitated, antennas turning toward Noah. We've stretched a tiny hand toward him, low chime like an invisible string that wouldn't let go. "I'll meet you," Noah promised, touching a finger to his chest, then pointing ahead. "Right there." Wave repeated the gesture with a green finger, a soft thump on its own collarbone. Saal nodded and slipped under the panels, the children clinging to her tunic. Noah drew a deep breath and entered the pipe corridor with Milo. The temperature spiked immediately. Steam hissed from cracked conduits, thickening the air. Noah moved with military precision, light-footed, eyes on the sentinel's pattern outside. The dog swept ahead, signaling with micro-tail flicks. At one point, a sentinel settled so close Noah could hear the hum of its energy core. He pressed against a metal wall, sinking his breath to the steam, body statue still. Milo froze too. The drone swept them with its thermal camera. Noah quickly adjusted his suit's regulator to lower his external heat, risking an internal chill. The visor blinked, skin temp down to 29 degrees Celsius. The drone's core clicked, confused, and at last drifted away. Noah inhaled slowly. "Good boy," he murmured to Milo, rubbing the back of the dog's neck. They emerged seconds later at the rendezvous point. Saal was already crouched there, the three little ones pressed to her belly like birds. Wave released a tiny pling when Noah reappeared. The collective tension loosened a notch, bond taking shape. After the scare, their pace changed. Noah realized the children were mimicking his gestures. When he raised a fist to halt, they raised mini-fists. When he signaled to move, antennas and fingers moved in the same pattern. Even Milo seemed to pick up the rhythm, adjusting his stride so they could track his sound. "They learn fast," Saal whispered, "maybe faster than they realize." Noah offered a small canteen with an adapted spout. Breeze tried first, sipping drops with a soft hiss. Drop dipped its 3 antennae in and made a chord of satisfaction. Wave watched everything, eyes keen, learning. As they walked, Noah taught in broken English the basic words, "Walk." He tapped his foot. "Follow." He pointed ahead. "Quiet." He pressed a finger to his lips. Wave replied with similar vibrations, repeating the three at the right rhythm. Sal lifted an eyebrow. "In half a day they'll speak better than my students," she muttered. The corridor of old turbines opened into a devastated square where a cultural center once stood. A cracked statue pointed skyward with half an arm. It was too open, but necessary to cross toward the mag-lift sector. Revelation creeping in, crossing, Noah noticed something. The few Var still moving through the ruins stared at the children, not at him. It was a look of fear, reverence, and urgency mixed. An elder leaning on a pillar made an old hand gesture, fingers to forehead then to heart, as Wave passed. Noah filed it away, his soldier brain assembling the puzzle. These kids weren't nobody. "Sal, explain that, Mark," he murmured when they hid behind a beam. The Var hesitated. "Daughters of Kyle Ven, High Regent of the Three Crowns," she said softly, as if the wind could betray her. "They're not just children. They're the political heart of our people. Without them, rival factions take over. Without them, the treaty collapses." Noah closed his eyes for a moment, exactly the burden he hadn't wanted. But too late. Rescuing them had become a choice bigger than him. "So, that's why they're being hunted," he said. "Yes, if they die or vanish, each side will blame the other. The war returns the same day." He drew a slow breath and looked at the little ones. They might not understand words, but they understood the mood. Wave squeezed his hand with three tiny fingers. "I protect you," he said simply, neutral tone. "I protect." As they crossed the square, Sal played three high notes and waited for the echo. The return came back shattered like cracked glass. Her eyes widened. "They've tracked us," she murmured. "Hunters on the perimeter." Noah activated his helmet scanner. 4 red dots moving in an arc from the east. Their escape route was about to be cut off. "We need cover now," he said, veering left toward a collapsed building. The structure looked like a mid-size hotel, now a concrete skeleton. They entered through a fractured lobby, climbed broken stairs to a middle floor where part of the ceiling had fallen, creating a natural cave. Light filtered through iron beams, striping the floor. Milo sniffed, circled, and lay near the entrance, ready to react. Noah leaned against the wall and slid down to sit, let out a sigh that sounded centuries old. The 3 little ones, exhausted from the trek, crawled to him, first Drop pressing to his chest, then Breeze resting its head on his shoulder, Wave last wrapping thin arms around the other 2. It was exactly the thumbnail image. 3 green alien children tucked against an exhausted human soldier, a dog keeping watch in the dim. "Rest a bit," Noah said, more to himself than to them, "but not too long." Sal watched silently. Maybe it was the first time in weeks she'd seen genuine tenderness without political calculation, a pause, a flash of humanity. Noah closed his eyes, feeling their small bodies weight, and got yanked back to memories he never told. His sister asleep against him in the bunker, the neighbor's daughter he'd pulled from orbital strike rubble, the sense of being a refuge when the world collapsed. War hadn't stolen his capacity to shelter. It had just buried it under armor. Zal plucked a soft chord, almost a lullaby, and the little ones began chiming in sync, answering the melody. Milo, lying down, kept one eye open, focused on the door, and one eye closed, surrendering to the sound. "They trust you," Sal said quietly. "Not me, not ours. You." Noah opened one eye to meet hers. "I was in the right place at the wrong time." "I don't believe in chance," she said, fingers still on the harp strings. "I believe in decisions." He breathed deep, looking at the motionless antennae, the faint glow under the green skin, the slow breath. It was a fragile yet powerful moment, an instant when war, species, and politics disappeared. leaving only lives. "We'll get out," he promised them all, "even if I have to carry the whole planet on my back." In the corner, Milo raised his ears. A metallic sound, distant, reverberated through the concrete. The hunter was coming. The clock read 7 minutes. The metallic echo repeated, closer this time. It wasn't the scattered sound of drones. It was the irregular rhythm of boots crunching gravel and steel. Noah's eyes snapped open, instantly awake, body sliding back into combat mode. Milo was already on his feet, muzzle lifted, a low growl vibrating in his chest. The 3 alien children were still huddled against him, but their tiny antennae quivered in short patterns, a clear signal of fear. Zal dropped the bone harp, leaned in and whispered, "They found our trail. Must be contract hunters." Noah signaled for silence, rose slowly. Their makeshift shelter sat in the middle of a collapsed floor with 3 possible access points. He needed to turn the place into a trap before it became a slaughterhouse. "Zal, get them over to that pile of rubble," he whispered, pointing to the densest concrete heap. "Milo, with me." Udandis, as the Var guided the little ones away, Noah scanned the entry points. 2 were glassless windows. The third was the broken stairwell they'd climbed. No time for elaborate barricades. He used what was there: fallen metal plates, twisted furniture, still live power cables. In less than 2 minutes, he had narrowed the entrances into choke points. "They're coming up the stairs," Milo indicated with a sniff toward the wind. First clash with the hunters. The silhouettes appeared like ghosts, edging around the stairwell with energy rifles raised, helmets black. Not regular soldiers, contract hunters. Stealthy, ruthless, practiced in making people vanish. Noah counted 4, but knew there could be more. "When I say, run to the side and make noise," he told Milo in a clipped code. The dog tilted his head, ready. The first hunter cleared the last step and advanced down the hallway. Noah waited until the whole shadow was in the choke point, then kicked a support beam. A metal plate dropped, sparking into a harsh curtain of light. In that instant, Milo barked ferociously and sprinted to the opposite flank, drawing their aim. Noah fired 2 precise pulse pistol shots, not to kill, but to disable. The plasma bolts smashed the second hunter's weapon, sending it skidding. A third tried to aim, but slipped on oil-slick flooring. Chaos in seconds. Bond under fire. In the middle of the fight, Noah felt the children emitting deep, steady sounds. It wasn't pure panic. It was a pattern, syncing with each other and with him, some kind of emotional echo. A sudden calm washed over him, his body moving more precisely than usual, every step, every shot timed to an invisible beat. Sal noticed, and her eyes widened. "They're linking you," she whispered, "creating a resonance field." But there was no time to process. The 4th hunter came through the side window. Noah spun, but before he could fire, Milo leapt, slamming the intruder down like a cannonball. The energy rifle went off into the ceiling, blowing a chunk of concrete free. The revelation. As the hunters pulled back to regroup, Noah rushed to the children. Wave opened its black eyes and touched his temple. A sudden image blasted through his mind. A throne of green crystal. A tall alien leader, emerald skin, crown-like antennae, and 3 small children on the lap, each wearing the same pendant now on their wrists. It wasn't his memory, but it was clear. Noah blinked, stunned. "You're—" he began. Sal finished. "Daughters of Regent Kael Ven, heirs to the Council of the 3 Crowns." Noah drew a deep breath. It all made sense now. The civilians' reverence, the hunters' ferocity, the mark. This wasn't just a rescue, it was a high-risk diplomatic operation. "That's why everyone wants you," he said, not hiding the exasperation. "This isn't an evacuation, it's a hostage run." Wave gripped his hand, a low sound vibrating between them. "I'm not leaving you," Noah vowed, "even if the world falls." Outside, VAR voices mixed with orders. He picked out a repeated phrase, "Purify the lineage." They weren't just trying to capture. They were there to erase the heirs. A new war could begin with a staged massacre. Saal inhaled sharply. "They came to kill the truce," she said. "If we die here, humans get blamed." Noah clenched his fist. "Then we don't die here." Building the plan. He scanned the room. A central column supported the cracked ceiling. If he brought it down at the right moment, it would isolate the floor and buy precious seconds to escape through the ducts. Risky, but their only move. "Sal, take them to the hole behind the cracked wall," he ordered. "When I signal, go." She hesitated. "And you?" "I hold them off." Milo limped back, unhurt, and stood beside his master. The dog's look said everything. "Where you stay, I stay." Noah brushed his head quickly, holding under attack. The hunters returned now with light grenade launchers. The first shot blew the opposite wall apart, scattering fragments. Saal crouched with the children, shielding them with her body. Wave let out a high chord. Breeze and Drop answered, a triple tone that made the air vibrate. Noah aimed at the column base, primed his field explosive from the belt, and set a 2-second timer. Through. The detonation wasn't massive, but enough to crack the support further. "Now!" he yelled. Saal pulled the children through the hole behind the wall. Milo leapt after them. Noah fired pulse plasma at the column again. The support beam groaned. Then the ceiling came down between him and the hunters, a wall of debris, dust, cracks, darkness. Noah sprinted and dove through the hole at the last second, concrete scraping his vest. A moment to regroup. In the narrow tunnel behind the shelter, Milo licked his arm, checking for wounds. Noah drew slow breaths, trying to steady his pulse. The children pressed against him again, their inner chime now firm, almost matched to his heartbeat. Sal's eyes glimmered in the dim. "Do you understand what just happened?" she asked. "I bought time." "No." She pointed at the kids. "They linked you. Do you feel their rhythm?" Noah realized he did. A strange tranquility merged with the adrenaline. A near precognitive intuition, knowing where to move before the shot, feeling the exact second to throw the charge. It was like 3 child minds syncing him to survival. "Is that normal?" he asked. "No, it's a legacy of the 3 crowns. Only those they choose can receive it." Noah gave a short, incredulous laugh. "And here I thought I was just rescuing 3 lost kids." Setting up for the next act, the tunnel led to an exit near the maglift, their last hope of evacuation. But time was almost gone, and now the hunters knew they held the heirs. With each step, danger would only rise. Saal adjusted the blankets over the little ones. "They trust you like no one else. If we reach the extraction point, the Regent himself will come for them." Noah nodded, gripping the rifle. "Then we're reaching it, whatever it takes." Ahead, a pale glow marked the tunnel's end. Milo took point, nose low. The children's antennae lifted, sensing the air. Their inner chime began a faster rhythm, like a drum announcing a storm. Noah drew a deep breath. One thought fixed. The worst is yet to come. But I'm no longer alone. And so the group emerged from the tunnels into the ruined city once more, heading for the extraction point that could mean not just survival, but the future of 2 species. The tunnel exit brought them into an old, elevated transit gallery, a wide corridor with shattered translucent panels and exposed beams. Outside, the landscape looked like an ocean of ash, dotted with broken towers and columns of smoke. The mag lift, extraction point Delta 13, was less than 800 meters away, but it sat exposed in the middle of a plateau ringed by debris. Between them and the destination lay a maze of ruins. Noah raised a hand. Hold! Milo sat, muzzle testing the ion-heavy air. The little one's antennae vibrated in short patterns, as if they were picking up danger waves. Sal leaned against a beam, breathing shallow. "They're tracking the lift's magnetic field," she murmured. "The hunters know it's our only route." Noah ran the mental map. A collapsed warehouse sat to the right, an old building with walls still standing, potential temporary cover. If they crossed open ground now, they'd be easy targets. They needed to rest, reset, and plan the final dash. "We go through the warehouse," he decided. "Buy time, control angles, and if we have to, I'll call for a direct evac over the radio." Sal gave him a skeptical look. "If you call, they'll intercept." "Then we call at the last second," Noah shot back. Improvised shelter. The warehouse looked like a logistics hub. Toppled metal crates, narrow aisles, gantries frozen on the ceiling. Light filtered through cracks, striping the floating dust. They slipped in through a narrow side gap, weaving around twisted beams. Milo sniffed every corner before allowing them to move on. At the center was a more open space, sheltered by two fallen containers, forming a right angle. Noah chose that spot. He posted Milo at the entrance, checked the kids' blankets, and took off his helmet for the first time in hours. The air was heavy, but breathable. 5-minute rest, he said, voice gravelly. "You need it as much as I do." Sal helped the little one settle on a strip of thermal blanket. Wave, more awake than the other two, pressed against Noah's vest and ran a tiny hand over the squad emblem on his chest plate. Breeze and Drop curled up behind and fell asleep almost instantly. Milo lay down in front of them, broad body forming a barrier. His gaze stayed alert, but his breathing was calm. The kind of calm that understands this is a pause. The soldier's memories. Noah pulled a canteen from a pocket, took a swig, and let his head rest against the wall. The warehouse's heavy quiet, broken only by distant drips, dragged up memories he kept buried. His kid sister trapped under rubble on another world. Evacuation days when he lost teammates because he followed protocol too tightly. The constant weight of choosing who lives and who doesn't. He looked at the 3 green-skinned little ones. They breathed in unison, antennae moving in a micro-ballet. For a moment, they looked like sleeping human kids. A domestic scene so ordinary, it hurt. "I promised myself I wouldn't get attached again," he muttered. "And look at me." Sal heard him. "Did you choose the war?" "No, but I got good at it. Too good. And when the war ended, all that was left was evacuating planets like this. And now?" Noah looked at the little ones, then at Milo. "Now, maybe there's something left." The children's impressions. Saal sat opposite, adjusting the blankets. "They feel your past," she said. "Not in words, but in vibrations. That's why they cling to you. They believe you're a safe harbor." Noah let out a short laugh. "Safe harbor. I've been called a lot of things. That's a new one." Sal plucked soft notes on the bone harp, like water over stones. The sound filled the warehouse, smoothing its broken edges. Wave opened those black eyes and answered with a low chord. Breeze, half asleep, chimed a short, 3-syllable note. Drop imitated it. For a moment, the place turned into a small symphony of survival. Reflection on war and children. Noah closed his eyes and listened. It wasn't like human music. It didn't come from the air. It came from the body, the bone, the rhythm of blood. In that vibration, he understood almost physically what war does, not just killing bodies, but breaking frequencies. These three little ones were intact frequencies, able to reconnect. "You're the future of all this," he whispered, not expecting an answer. "Maybe I'm just the guy who carries you there." Wave lifted their face as if they'd understood every word. Small cultural exchanges. To pass the time, Noah took out a small metal token he used as a charm. A disc with circular engravings. He showed it to the kids. "Earth," he said, tapping the disc. "My home." Breeze touched the disc with slender fingers, then pressed her hand to her own chest and vibrated something like home. Drop added a high note. Noah smiled. Saal watched, half fascinated, half worried. "In a full cycle, they'll speak fluently," she said. "That's never happened with outsiders." Noah pocketed the disc. "Then we have to survive the full cycle." Tension rising, Milo suddenly lifted his head, body going rigid. His ears caught something beyond human range. Noah caught it a beat later, a shift in the distant drone hum, a new rhythm, like gearing up for an attack. His internal clock showed less than 10 minutes until the extraction window. "Time to move," Noah said, snapping his helmet back on. The kids protested with a sad chord, but he gave the signs for silence and then follow. They obeyed, more disciplined than most human recruits, preparing for the final run. Before they left, Noah knelt to their level. "Listen," he tapped his chest, then pointed outward. "We run together. If I stop, you keep going with Saal and Milo. Understand?" Wave repeated the gesture, tapping their green chest and pointing outward. Breeze and Drop did the same. Noah drew a steady breath, the weight of that promise settling on him like fresh armor. "Then let's go." They exited the warehouse from the far side, the sky now washed in an orange tint by the alien sunset. The mag lift gleamed ahead, a silver tower ringed by wreckage that looked like broken teeth. Milo took point, sniffing safe routes. Saal guided them through the ruins. Noah covered the rear, weapon ready. Every step now carried the weight of a final decision. Rest had given them breath, but also made the scale of the risk clearer. They were carrying not just 3 children, but the possibility of peace between species. Wave looked back one last time, those black eyes fixed on him, and let out a short note. Not fear, but something that might have been trust. Noah answered with a nod. "We'll make it." And they moved out, toward the point where everything could end or begin again. The sky over Carthos 4 felt lower as they emerged from the last corridor of ruins. The mag lift rose ahead like a silver obelisk set in the heart of chaos. With every step toward the platform, Noah smelled hot metal mixed with the ozone of magnetic fields. It was the promise of escape and the warning they weren't alone anymore. Milo growled before Noah even caught it. The Labrador's nose had picked up something beyond the debris. Saal raised the bone harp and plucked a short note. The echo came back broken, carrying a strange vibration, as if the whole air trembled. The 3 little ones' antennae shot up at a sharp angle. "They've set an ambush," Saal whispered. "They're waiting." Noah swallowed hard. No time left to circle around. The extraction window would close in minutes. If they got trapped here, there'd be no second chance. "How many?" he asked. Saal plucked 2 more notes, eyes closed. "At least a dozen, maybe more. They've ringed the perimeter." Noah glanced at the lift, then at the children. The image of them sleeping on his chest flashed back. He couldn't stop here. A figure stepped out from between metal columns ahead. Black armor, silver sigils on the shoulder, the purest guard, notorious for answering to no official government. More figures emerged behind the leader, energy rifles aimed. "Human!" the amplified voice echoed. "Release the Regent's heirs. This is the end of your path." Noah stepped forward, keeping his body between the children and the rifles. "They're under my custody," he said. "I take orders from neither the Regent nor you." The guard leader advanced another pace. They're the symbol of a lie. Without them, the treaty dies. Without the treaty, our people are reborn pure. Noah felt wave press against his vest. The internal chime now in high, sharp notes. Breeze and drop trembled in unison. Saal inhaled, eyes shining as though she could already see the outcome. Noah scanned the terrain. To the left, the wreck of a downed ship could offer cover. To the right, broken concrete and exposed pipes. The direct path to the lift was blocked by 6 hunters. Only one chance, create a big enough distraction for Saal to cross with the little ones. He crouched, looking into Wave's eyes, then breezes, then drops. Listen. He tapped his own chest, then pointed to Saal. She takes you. I cover. All 3 answered with a chord so low Noah felt it in his sternum, a note of refusal. I know, he tried to smile, but I'm the grown-up. This is my job. Saal touched his shoulder. They trust you because you choose to stay. Don't betray them now. Noah drew a steady breath. I'm not betraying. I'm saving. The distraction plan. He handed the rifle to Saal, keeping only his pulse pistol and combat knife. He grabbed 2 flash grenades from his belt and checked the detonator. When I throw these, run straight to the lift. Milo goes first. I'll be right behind. The Labrador tilted his head, reading the plan. It's going to be loud, Saal murmured. It has to be, Noah said. The confrontation begins. Noah stepped from behind cover with his hands up, grenades hidden in his palms. Wait, he shouted. If you want someone, take me. Let the kids go. The hunters hesitated, exchanging glances. The leader lifted an arm, signaling 2 more to flank. This was the moment. Noah triggered the grenades and lobbed them into the group. 2 bursts of white light tore the space open, blinding their visors. Milo bolted left, barking ferociously, drawing eyes and guns. Saal yanked the children to the right, running for the lift. Noah plunged through the smoke, knife in hand. The first strike was clean, knocking the rifle from one hunter's hands. A short pulse shot at the second's knee. The third raised his weapon, but Noah pivoted and slammed him down with a shoulder blow. The advantage wouldn't last. One hunter recovered and aimed at Saal and the fleeing kids. Noah saw it in slow motion. Without thinking, he sprinted to intercept. An energy shot tore through the air and hit his left shoulder, spinning him but not stopping him. A second shot scorched his vest as he threw himself in front of the little ones. Milo launched at the shooter, clamping teeth into the man's arm. Saal turned, pulling the kids behind the lift's cover. Noah dropped to one knee, shoulder throbbing, and looked at the 3 little ones now safe behind Saal. He raised a thumb. "Keep going!" he yelled. "Get to the platform!" A deep roar cut the air. Several ships in formation dropped from the horizon like spears. The sigil of Regent Kyle Ven glowed on their hulls. Loyalist troops had arrived, alerted secretly by Saal's coded signals hours earlier. The ships hovered over the field. Containment beams fell, freezing the hunters in place. The purist leader tried to flee, but a precise energy shot took him down. A tall, imposing figure stepped out of one ship. Deep green skin, crown-long antennae, ceremonial armor, the regent himself. He walked to Noah, who was still kneeling, leaning on his knife like a cane. Saal brought the 3 little ones, who ran to their father in a chorus of high notes. The alien leader embraced them, then turned black, glinting eyes on Noah. "Human," he said, firm voice, "my children live because you chose to protect them." Noah tried to stand, shoulder protesting. The regent extended a large, steady hand, helping him up. "Your courage will be remembered. Your species must see this. My species must see this." Noah breathed deeply, accepting the hand. "I just did what anyone would do." "No," the regent said with a faint smile. "You did what few would do." Loyalist troops rounded up the remaining hunters. Alien medics came to Noah, smearing a cold gel over the wound. Milo, exhausted, lay at his side, head on the human's knee. The children, Wave, Breeze, and Drop, moved close again, touching his hand in unison. A deep chord vibrated through them all, like a sealing ritual. Sal met Noah's eyes and nodded. A bond had formed that politics couldn't break. The regent spoke again. "When this day ends, there will be an assembly. I want you there. I want you to tell what you saw, what you did. And then we will talk about the future." Noah didn't answer. He was too tired to think about the future. He just looked at the three small green heads leaning on him, at Milo gently licking their hands, and felt a calm he hadn't felt in years. The maglift began to rise slowly, carrying them out of the chaos of Carthos 4. Through broken windows, Noah saw the regent's ships hovering over the field, rounding up prisoners, neutralizing mines, stabilizing the region. The war that almost restarted ended here, in the rescue of 3 children and the choice of one human not to abandon them. As the platform climbed, Wave pressed their forehead to Noah's helmet, emitting a short note that rang through the metal. It was more than gratitude. It was an invitation. Noah closed his eyes, feeling the rhythm of that sound. Somehow, he'd crossed a boundary that wasn't just physical. And high above, where the clouds began to clear, the promise of something new appeared. Not a soldier, not merely a savior, but perhaps a mediator between 2 worlds. The maglift broke through the last layer of clouds like a submarine breaching ice, emerging into a clean, pale sky. Above, Station Delta 13 waited, its docking rings glowing blue. The sound was a deep rumble, punctuated by the soft crackle of magnetic fields adjusting orbit. To Noah, it felt like the heartbeat of a world that, against all odds, was still alive. Milo lay down next to the children, tongue lolling, eyes finally serene. Saal kept her eyes closed, plucking the bone harp strings discreetly, as if giving silent thanks to her ancestors. Wave, Breeze, and Drop stared out at space through the translucent visor, their tiny antennae pointing toward the stars. For them, it was their first glimpse of a sky without dust or fire. Noah inhaled deeply. His shoulder throbbed under the alien dressing, but what he felt wasn't only pain. It was a fullness, as if all the chaos had finally made sense. He looked at the 3 little ones and realized they were no longer cargo. They had cracked the crust of cynicism he'd built up over years. When the platform docked, a corridor of VAR guards loyal to the regent formed a path to the station's main hall. At its end, an improvised ceremonial space, hanging banners, adjusted lights, holocameras broadcasting to the entire system. Regent Cale Venn waited there, flanked by counselors and hastily summoned human dignitaries. The internal civil war had been contained. Now, it was time to turn the episode into a symbol. The doors opened, and Noah entered with the children and Milo. A ripple of murmurs ran through the hall. The contrast was striking. A human in scorched armor, a sensor-vested dog, and 3 small green figures with glowing antennae holding his hands. The regent lifted his arms in a ritual gesture. "Peoples of 2 stars," he said, the amplified voice echoing through the space. "Today, we witness something unseen for generations. A human warrior, veteran of our bloodiest wars, chose to protect instead of destroy. He carried my daughters when he could have abandoned them. He faced the enemies of peace when he could have retreated." The holocameras zoomed in on Noah's weary face. A strange warmth rose in his chest. He had never wanted a stage or medals. He had only wanted to survive, and this time, to save. "Noah Villar," the regent continued, using his full name as a mark of respect. "Before humans and VAR alike, I recognize your courage and offer you a seat on the Council of Harmony." The hall erupted with chimes and applause. Noah blinked, stunned. Milo barked once, as if in approval. Wave tugged on his sleeve, emitting a short note. "It's an invitation," Sal whispered. "Few have ever received something like this." Noah drew a deep breath. "I'm just a sergeant," he murmured. "Not a diplomat." Sal smiled. "Maybe that's exactly why they need you." The unexpected invitation. After the initial ceremony, Noah was led to a more private wing of the station. There, human and VAR medics worked together on his shoulder, while Milo was treated for a wounded paw. The children stayed in an adjacent module with their father, but insisted on keeping the door open so they could see him. Wave pressed their face to the translucent glass, antennae trembling in a soft pattern of comfort. Saal approached. "They don't want to be apart from you." "I know," Noah said, looking at the little ones. "But I'm not their father." You're the harbor they chose," Saal said. "That doesn't go away." Noah stayed silent, absorbing her words. A private conversation. Hours later, the regent entered the module without an escort. He wore a light ceremonial robe, antennae raised like a living crown. "Sergeant Villar," he said, voice more personal, "my daughters are safe because of you. But peace is still fragile. I want you to stay with us. I want you to be a bridge, not just a soldier." Noah hesitated. He looked at Milo, then at Sal, and finally at the three little ones on the other side of the glass. He had nowhere else to go. The war had ended, but he hadn't found a place in the post-war world. Maybe this was it. "If I stay," he said, "I won't be a polished diplomat. I'll talk the way I talk. I'll say when something's wrong." The regent smiled. "That's exactly what I need." A symbolic gesture of truce. The regent raised his hand in a ritual posture. Noah offered the human handshake. Instead of choosing one or the other, the regent folded Noah's fingers around his own palm, creating a hybrid gesture. Cameras captured the moment. The agreement wasn't just on paper, it was in the touch. Wave, Breeze and Drop ran into the module with their father's permission and circled Noah and Milo. They pressed their antennae to his chest, releasing a long, deep, resonant chord. It was a language without translation, but everyone felt it. Alliance. New routines. In the weeks that followed, Noah adjusted to a new rhythm. No more patrols or evacuations. Instead, cultural training, meetings and afternoons teaching Milo to play with the children in the station's suspended garden, or showing them simple human tricks like whistling, clapping, or drawing maps in holographic sand. Sal recorded everything, turning it into songs for the VAR collective memory. At night, alone, Noah reflected on the path he'd taken, from hardened ex-soldier to trusted figure for 3 alien heirs. What he felt wasn't heroism, it was belonging, a quiet relief. One night while he was staring out at space through the window, Wave entered silently, sat beside him and rested their head on his shoulder. Breeze and Drop followed, leading Milo by the collar. No one spoke, but Noah understood. They were there to say their story together wasn't over. Wave pointed to the stars, then to his chest, emitting a short note that Sal would later translate as, "There are more paths." Noah smiled. "Then let's see those paths," he said, running his hand over Milo's caramel fur. On his visor screen, an alert blinked. "New mission, diplomatic contact in neutral system." He closed the message. He wasn't a soldier following blind orders anymore. He was someone choosing where to put his body and his heart. Behind him, the regent entered quietly, watching the scene. "Still think you're just a sergeant?" he asked with a hint of humor. Noah shrugged, his shoulder nearly healed. "Maybe now I'm a beginning." The regent nodded. "Some beginnings look like accidents, but they're choices." Noah looked at Wave, Breeze, Drop and Milo. He realized that somehow every step to this point had been a choice, not chance. And as the station orbited silently above the devastated planet, the ex-human soldier and 3 small green alien children, now saved heirs and apprentices of a new world, sat together, sketching in the emptiness of space the outlines of an improbable but possible future. The ceremonial hall's camera captured the moment without them noticing. Milo lying down, the children leaning against Noah, Saal playing a soft melody in the background. It mirrored the first thumbnail image, but now the context was different, no longer flight and fear, but belonging and hope. Noah closed his eyes and thought, sometimes the greatest victory isn't winning battles, but allowing yourself to be a refuge. And for the first time in a long while, he let himself fall asleep without armor.